Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire. Welcome to Wicca 303. Today's lesson is about standing on your own two witchy feet. Every practitioner of the craft must know how to cope on their own should the occasion call for it. This includes witches and wizards who have always done their major workings in a coven setting. Even they still know how to operate on their own if they need to. Now, the great work is largely a solitary and personal pursuit, so obviously that's not something that anyone else can do for you. You are going to have to be able and be capable of doing the work yourself. Everyday household magic is something to do on your own, and it shouldn't, in most situations, be a need to call in the cavalry. You should know how to do these things. Some healing work may be dealing with issues that are just too personal to handle with a larger group. So again, there's another reason why you have to be able to operate on your own. And there are times when a practitioner is on their own and they just need to immediately deal with the situation because it has to be dealt with. One example of this would be malevolent hauntings. You don't screw around, but you set immediate boundaries. You let them know who is in charge. And in the physical plane of existence, that's us. A couple of examples about why we have a lot of motivation for needing to know and to have the confidence in ourselves that if we have to, if it really comes down to it, we can do this by ourselves. So, what is needed? First, you must have confidence in yourself. I'm talking about genuine confidence, not bravado, not arrogance, not wishful thinking, but actual confidence. And that is required through experience and knowing that if you made a mistake, you get back up, you learn from it, you move forward, and life goes on. Confidence is also built through completing projects. It is a huge psychological boost to be able to point out something and say, I finished that. And secondly, you must continue to pursue your magical education, not just in theory, but in practice and testing what works and what doesn't. You know, it's all fun and games, and there's a lot of theories that sound really good when you talk about them, when you see them on paper, if there's a laboratory settings, but then you meet the real world and it's just, oh, that's not how that works at all. And having the confidence to see things when you see them and to acknowledge that when practical reality contradicts your pet theories, you adapt to the reality and you abandon the theory. And and also a part of continuing your education, it does involve consulting sources that aren't necessarily looking at topics that are relevant to our craft, but they aren't looking at it through a spiritual or magical lens. One example would be geology. There's great benefit of learning more about geology, how rocks and crystals form, and so on, because the more we learn about their physical properties, that also makes a lot of their spiritual properties make a lot more sense and a lot easier to remember. And, that's certainly not the intention of any geologist, if they're delivering a lecture on the topic. But it is a benefit that we can pick up on. And that's just one example. We need to learn things through different perspectives so that we have the mundane and the magical more tightly knitted together. And another thing that we have to do is being willing to hear the other side of an argument, learning the foundation of that argument and testing its merits. We have to be willing to test what we think we know in order to find out what actually is. And that's not something that anyone else can do for us. They can encourage us, they can support us through the process, but they can't actually do the work on our behalf. That's all us. Third, you must actively exercise your personal willpower and be willing to make decisions in accordance with your values and your goals and to have a clear context. Video's back. Okay. Following through to complete. Despite obstacles, that is really the best training and development of your willpower that you could ever have. It's like, well, there's a problem. I'm going, it's over, around, under, through, whatever it takes. But I'm going to get beyond that. And then once you are, more confidence. And then combining mundane and magical actions to manifest your intentions, that's absolutely essential. I don't know how many different practitioners have said it, but if your magical actions and your mundane actions are telling the universe two different things, guess what happens? Either nothing or the mundane actions actually end up taking precedence because the action requires more energy to actually achieve. So that is going to be the strongest signal to the universe of what it is you actually want or what you think is fine. So eliminating contradictions between the two is very much in your interest. Fourth, you must be willing to get creative, to learn how to mend and make do. You will not always be operating in ideal conditions or within your customary comfort zone. Now, thankfully, magical energies permeate everything. Nothing is separated from it. And learning to tap into that and direct it effectively, that is just necessary. That is the definition of what it means to practice the craft. And nature abounds in substitutions, and many a weed is actually a potent source of magical energy. So, waste not, want not. Fifth, you must embrace your role as a practitioner of the craft. We are not just theorists, we are not just scholars, we are the doers. The true becoming of a witch or a wizard is in the act of practice, consistently, continuously, as a way of life. Knowing how to manage on your own when necessary. Now, that does not preclude being part of a spiritual community. I think that's still a very important part of our practices. But the ability to practice independently is a safeguard to ensure continuation of a craft. Now, all that being said and taken into consideration, I know it was a lot in a short period of time, but let's talk about your homework for August 9th through August 15th. Make a list of what you think you need to feel more confident in your practice. Challenge yourself to reason out a magical concept without having to rely upon your books or your teachers. Draw upon your knowledge and your experience. And then 3, perform a ritual out in nature if possible and speak from the heart. I mean, yes, you're going to go through similar elements, but speak spontaneously, speak from the heart, and see how it goes. This is all about really reassuring you that you have got what it takes and you can do this. If you have to operate on your own, you can. And then that way, operating with others magically becomes more of a preference, or it becomes, something that you might do as a matter of course. It's an option for you. You are not going to go into this with the idea that you have to have other people around you in order to practice your craft. You do not. You can carry out on your own. And just in case, just because life is very uncertain, I do feel like it is my duty to try to prepare people both with knowledge and just with a little bit of advice that it's in your interest to learn how to manage on your own, just in case. Especially if you find yourself called to the teaching work, you don't know under what conditions you might be called upon to teach someone something magical. You don't know what the circumstances will be. You don't know if there will be anyone else around to ask. So knowing stuff, knowing it cold, having it permeate your entire soul, that is going to be so vital for you going forward. So I just want to make sure that's clear, and so that people can make their own spiritual plans accordingly. So that does it for this week. Next week, we will be discussing the modern witches' role as witches who are operating in our modern ages, not anything to do with aesthetics or modern sensibilities of any kind. It's just, what are we supposed to be doing with ourselves at this period of history? So definitely come back for that. In the meantime, comments, questions, concerns, complaints, leave them all for me in the comments section. I realized this was some pretty firm stuff today. So just let me know what you think, and if you're struggling with any piece of it, and we'll just walk through this together. But that will do it for now, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.